What up, people? Let's get some of that viewership in. This is going to be a little bit of a live video. I will be answering questions, of course, but this live stream is going to be different from my normal live streams. Today, we're going to be talking about the Dan Schneider debacle. Dan, get in my Van Schneider. Hey, what's up, Tom's Vinyl Shack? How you doing? Dan, get in my Van Schneider. Oh, man. What a... Oh! Man, what's going on? Of course, about a week ago, or maybe less than that, it was announced Dan Schneider was released from his contract at Nickelodeon, or he and Nickelodeon made some mutual decision that it would be best for Dan Schneider to leave. Or he got fired, I don't know at this point. Yeah, Dan Schneider, of course, for all of you who are watching after this live stream, Dan Schneider created, he was a big force for Nickelodeon for several years. I loved a lot of his shows. I remember when Drake and Josh was first coming out. I was really young. And iCarly, yeah. I remember the day that premiered. I was like 7 years old when that came out. I remember when that came out. It was a fairly new show. I saw all the trailers. He also did Victoria, Sam and Cat. And then for 90s kids and people who used to collect 90s Nick stuff like I did, he also did shows like All That. Or he didn't create All That, but he helped All That and Keenan and Kel. And, yeah. And then, of course, he also had some Nickelodeon shows that are currently running on Nick, like Henry Danger, Game Shakers. I've never seen those shows. The only thing I know about either of them is the plot and the fact Game Shakers has Kel from Keenan and Kel. And he also has an animated series coming out, or it came out. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah. We have families on our toes. Yeah, his foot fetish. I'm gonna get into that. There's a lot of suspicious things about Dan Schneider. One thing is that the man looks like a potato. Just gonna get that out of the way. I know that's probably not the most mature thing to say coming out of me, but he looks like a potato. Automatic pedophile accusation. No. But, he looks like, I don't know, every picture I've seen of him, he either looks like slightly happy or he's pissed off and stuff is going to go down. But I don't know. There are more suspicious things about Channel Awesome. I have heard about the Channel Awesome stuff, actually. But, to get on to my point about Dan Schneider, he's done a lot of suspicious stuff behind the scenes with kids. He would often have unsupervised pool parties. John Candy does look better than he does. Honestly, Dan Schneider kind of looks like he could have been Josh Peck's biological dad, from Drake and Josh. He also kind of looks like Joseph Strickland, with a Beatle haircut. If you don't know who Joseph Strickland is, look him up. But Dan Schneider is, he'd have these unsupervised pool parties. Adults were specifically not allowed to be at these parties. And, yeah, it sounds really bad. Even if he wasn't doing anything to these stars behind the scenes, it already sounds really bad. Like, you don't want something like this on your public history kind of thing. Yeah, Josh did lose a lot of weight. I remember when his weight really went down during the production of Drake and Josh. Yeah, I've lost quite a bit of weight too. I actually went to the doctor today. They said I lost about 78 pounds. Yeah, it's not good. In fact, there was some footage I saw of Dan Schneider and Amanda Bynes. I want to say this was late 90s, maybe early 2000s, where it was just like Amanda Bynes and Dan in the this hot tub. It was like, I don't, it was weird. It was really, really weird. Like, Dan Schneider was wearing a button up. Thank you, thank you. Dan Schneider was wearing like a weird button up, and like in the hot tub. It's like, first of all, it's not even. It's weird. Yeah, he supposedly offered $100 to an Amanda Show extra to tickle her bare feet. Yeah, I did hear about that. If that is true, that is why. What are you doing, Danny boy? Dan, get in my van, Schneider. Oh man, he's basically the Harvey Weinstein of the children's entertainment world, and that's a compliment. I mean, he might be, if nothing has officially come out, but I bet there could be a lot of stuff going on within the next few weeks, maybe few months even. Because Dan Schneider is tied with a lot of stars. I mean, you got Drake Bell. He's become a little bit of a media guy. Of course, he's always still tied with Drake and Josh. But, I mean, millennials like me love Drake and Josh. Of course, you got Miranda Cosgrove. She's not... I mean, she's still doing stuff. She's not with Nickelodeon anymore. Same with Victoria Justice. Fat, ugly people in Hollywood are always evil. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And then, of course, you got Ariana Grande. I mean, she was a big pop star until the concert explosion. Yeah, at least Quentin Tarantino only focuses on adult females' feet. Yeah, Quentin Tarantino is a bit weird, but I mean, at least he's not tickling little kids like Dan Schneider might have done. But Dan Schneider, what are you doing? That's all I gotta say about that. Dan Schneider he's just so suspicious. He's also, one thing I need to mention, he supposedly has a very, very bad temper, too. Like, one of the reasons he got dismissed was because he threw a temper tantrum when Game Shakers was not renewed for a 4th season. So that was something that kind of came out, and a lot of Hollywood news sites picked up this story. There was a couple that actually kind of talked about the allegations or the supposed rumors of Dan Schneider, that said that Dan Schneider has had like a cloud of rumors over his head for several years. But yeah, it's crazy stuff, honestly. Dan the man, what are you doing? What are you doing, Dan the man? Now, honestly, Dan Schneider stuff, I love all that. I love Keenan and Kel. I love Drake and Josh. I liked iCarly, although I think the later, right before the show ended, I didn't think it was that great, mainly because they were trying to focus on, oh, Sam and Freddie are dating! Oh, luckily, this is not creepy. Flex tape. I saw this boat in half! Anyway, yeah. Hold on. Oops. Let me pull up the live stream back up so I can read that comment, correctly. Alright, in 1995, Nickelodeon actually had a short commercial where adults asked kids to tickle their brothers and sisters' bare feet, and they showed it all. All of the kids were boys, however, with only one girl. Nickelodeon, what are you doing? I was a huge Nickelodeon fanatic, I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago. I actually don't think I ever saw that one. I used to read a lot. I used to look up like a lot of old Nickelodeon commercials. I was heavily involved in the 90s Nickelodeon community, but I don't remember seeing that one. Is there a link? Maybe I shouldn't ask for the link. Never mind. Don't send it. Uh, Dang, am I Dan Schneider's son now? What? Anyway, um, but yeah, Dan Schneider, what are you doing? What are you doing? Um, Another thing that came out too. This is Nickelodeon related. I kind of mentioned in my latest video. Ren and Stimpy's creator, he got under some fire lately. Some people told me they'll never be able to watch Ren and Stimpy the same because Ren is a sexual predator. And I mean, I think it's dumb. Now, did John K do it? I don't know. I hope he didn't. I hope he didn't. I hope Dan Schneider didn't do it either. But there's a lot of suspicion. And a lot of just... There's a lot of things pointing the fingers like, you probably did it. You probably did it. This is less creepy. What is it? The on-air live chat. Yeah. Just because a show may have bare feet in it, however, it doesn't mean the producer has a foot fetish. Will Byers occasionally barefoot in Stranger Things, but no sick foot fetish stuff, luckily. That's good. I've never watched Stranger Things, but I mean, at least they're not having them like stick their whole foot in their mouth, which is what Dan Schneider made Ariana Grande do for something on the Victoria's website. It's called like the slap.com or something like that. Yeah, had her put her foot in her mouth, or at least hit like a big toe. It was borderline foot porn. And then of course there's also a lot of weird other things too, like Dan Schneider on Twitter right around when Sam and Cat was still around. Dan Schneider had little kids take a picture of their bare feet and write something like hashtag Sam and Cat or something like that. Very weird. And I mean, a lot of his shows are very foot based. Of course, iCarly. I'd say iCarly's probably Dan Schneider's biggest show. That had a lot of foot stuff in it, if you really, really think about it. I mean, there's episodes where Sam was texting with her feet, and they were doing, like, there was, like, the toe family thing, where they put, like, where they drew faces on their toes and crap like that. It's like, of course, when we're little kids, we don't see this. We don't really think about something like this, but when all of this stuff, like, starts coming together, it's like, oh, what? Yeah, this is really weird. And, like, Dan, what do you do? Dan Schneider. And then, that's not even the worst of it. There are supposed rumors, that... So, Zoe 101, we all remember Zoe 101. Of course, the show ended kind of abruptly, from what I read, because Jamie Lynn Spears got pregnant, and supposedly they said Dan Schneider's the dad of Jamie Lynn Spears' kid, and I've looked at pictures. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything. I don't even know if this is 100% real, but boy, she does look a little bit like Dan Schneider. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah. That's even worse than the tickling. But what was also weird was when I mentioned that Sesame Street with a girl with the number of the feet painted on her bare feet. I think I do remember you talking about something like that. I feel like, yeah. And then I'd say Amanda Bynes probably, if this stuff comes out to be true, Amanda Bynes definitely got the worst of Danny Boy. I mean, she was in the spotlight for a good chunk, and then she just went down and down and down. I remember, like, the last time she was in a production was, like, in 2007 called She's the Man. After that, dropped from the spotlight, only to return years later as a skank who really has issues. Nick is getting creepy. Yes. Supposedly one thing that happened with Amanda Bynes and Dan Schneider was that Dan Schneider paid no. Dan Schneider supposedly had sex with Amanda Bynes and actually paid for her to have an abortion. Um, but yeah, a few weeks ago. But even more sick is that kids seem to be enjoying it in the skits. The girls smile and the kids have no problem showing off her feet, and the camera often zoomed in on her soles. That's a bit creepy. I wonder if Dan Schneider is secretly on production. This stream is crazy. I mean, it's the Crazy Music Geek. I wanted to do a video about Dan Schneider, but I thought a live stream would be better. Just to get your guys' feedback, I guess, which, I mean, I could do that with a video too. But I also just love doing live streams as well. This stream will actually be public, so, yeah. But Dan Schneider, Dirty Dan, that's what, he's Dirty Dan. But, yeah. Dirty Boy Schneider, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I think that's probably all I can add to Dan Schneider. If I missed anything, you guys let me know. I'll probably be streaming for a little bit. Who you calling Pinhead? That was a classic SpongeBob episode. SpongeBob, that was a good Nickelodeon show. At least for the first few seasons, in my opinion. But yeah. But Dan the Man, what are you doing? Luckily, you're on a cruise and you're safe. Better check out. Dan Schneider might be on that cruise. Be careful. If a really big man with a potato face and a beetle haircut asks you to take off your shoes, don't do it. Just don't do it. Oh, I actually just found this out. This relates to Dan Schneider. Since Nickelodeon dumped him, their ratings have really started sliding down, from what I've heard. Dan the Man, the Dan with the plan, getting the van Schneider. Dan the Anal Annihilator Schneider. A lot of nicknames for Dan Schneider. There's like a list of all of the all the meme names that he has. It's freaking hilarious. There's like a lot of them. Hold on. I gotta read these off. I can't find them. It's like Dan and Stimpy. Interesting. And then there's Fred Schneider from the B-52s. Watch out for him. Let's make sure he doesn't approve of what Danny Boy is doing. Danny Boy, we're on to you. Dan the Seducer Schneider. Dan Teen Better Schneider. Dan Rough Rider Schneider. Dan the Collector Schneider. No Lube Required Schneider. Dan the Despoiler Schneider. Deep Pounder Schneider. She's a Fighter Schneider. Get in the Van Schneider. I've had tighter Schneider. Deep Insider Schneider. Oh my gosh. Nickelodeon's Harvey Weinstein, yes. Very, very much so. Very, very much so. Now, Chris Savino, who did The Loud House, he got kicked off of Nickelodeon for doing stuff like this. So, yeah. The entertainment industry really has got to watch out. And also, one thing I forgot to mention, Dan Schneider worked with a lot, and I mean a lot of people in the industry who are actually, like, people who got arrested. Brian Peck He worked on the X-Men movies, and he worked on the Amanda Show, and he actually ended up getting arrested for very, very bad charges relating to children. Yeah, a lot of bare feet going on in these commercials. These bigwigs at Hollywood. They love them feet. And it's despicable! Anyway, guys, that's it for the podcast, or not the podcast, for the live stream. I don't really got anything else to add. I guess I'll check out Tom's Vinyl Shack's video. Oh, they say all men are created equal, but look at me. Despicable me, yes.
50 chance of winning, but I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% at best at beat me. And then you add Kurt Angle to the mix.
Add that Kurt Angle, boy!
Chance of winning drastically go down. See, the three-way at sacrifice, you got a 33 and a third chance of winning. But I got a 66 and two-thirds chance of winning, because Kurt Angle knows he can't beat me, and he's not even going to try. So, Samoa Joe, you take your 33 and a third chance, minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 and a third chance of winning at sacrifice. But then you take my 75% chance of winning, if we used to go one-on-one, and then add 66 and two-thirds percent, I got 141 and two-thirds chance of winning at sacrifice. See, Joe, the numbers.
Hope you all enjoyed. See you all later.